right now I got chills talking to you guys. I could feel the atmosphere drop, and I was like, God, you are here. It doesn't matter about how many people is in the room. Even though I talk to God all the time, like there is people that need to hear the word, but it doesn't matter because he said, I got the people here that I need to hear what I need them to hear. But we have to open up to worship. Worship is going to be the biggest part of your life. Worship is going to be what God actually wants back from you. Like I said, there's a specific time and a specific place that God is going to come down and be like, open that heart. So I'm just going to take just a little bit of your time just to close your eyes and feel God, see God, talk to God in your own. You don't even have to talk out loud. Just in your own. Just take this moment just to talk to God in your own and see what he's trying to say to you. See what he's trying to say to your heart. Just for a moment. Don't miss the moment. Just do it just for the moment. Open up to God. Let him know that you are here. Let him know that you are here for him. Let him know that you love him. Let him know that you praise him. Let him know that you are full-hearted trying to accept him, to let him lead you in life. Sometimes we got to stop to find out what God is trying to do for us, but we won't stop. So I'm taking a moment this morning to stop. Don't focus on anything that's around you. Don't focus on what happened yesterday, what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen when you leave church. Just right now, for a moment, just give God that just for a second. It's the only way you're going to know. Dear Lord, I pray over everyone this morning that's actually trying to hear from you, trying to see what you're trying to say to them, trying to get your guidance and where you're trying to take them to. God, the people that are trying to get more connected to you, heart to heart, God, that their hearts are open right now. Pour down in them, God, everything that you want them to know, everything that you want them to be, every position that you want them to stand in. Put them in the right places at the right times, God, that they can receive from you everything that you have to give them. These people are being obedient, God, and trying to get to you, trying to hear you. So, God, we take this moment, God, this atmosphere that we're in, God, and just pour down into us everything that you have to say. That we are renewed by the time that we leave today. We are not in the same mindset that we walked into this church with, but we are renewed as we leave. We are open people, God. We are your people, God. We're just trying to be obedient, Lord. Jesus. Ooh. Boy, this atmosphere is different today, boy. God has so much for you, man. God has so much for you. Gotta believe it. Thank you, God, for who you are. Thank you, God, for giving us these opportunities to be able to speak to you, to be able to hear from you. Thank you, God, for letting us have an open heart to receive your word, that we may act in it. Okay. So today's sermon is called The Waiting List. We're going to talk about Joseph. We're going to talk about Jacob. We're going to talk about his brothers. It's a lot of verses, so I had to break it down. But when you get the story, if you haven't read the story, that's why I went with the waiting list, because we need to find out who really was on the waiting list in this story. So God's promises never expire. He's just checking off the waiting list. We sometimes may be in the use of God for someone else's waiting list. So what I meant by that is you're not always the one that's on the waiting list, but you may be the one that's being used for the people that are on the waiting list. If you look at the story of Joseph, you would think that Joseph was just going through the worst of the worst of the worst because what God had given him, God the one who gave Joseph the dream. Joseph went out and said, well, I'm going to tell y'all what my dream was, which when I first read, I was like, oh, maybe that was the mistake. Because as soon as his brothers heard the dream, they were like, oh, so we're going to serve you now? You're going to rise above us? And they didn't like it. So at that point, I was like, oh, Joseph, you might not should have said nothing. You should have just known what the dream was and just kept it moving. It ain't meant like that. Sometimes when God tell you something to tell somebody else, you do supposed to tell them, even though it's in you to say it. So a lot of times God tells me, and I'll be like, God, I can't, look, man, can't say that. These people gonna think I'm crazy if I say it, or it's gonna end up judgmental. So we go and look at Joseph's dream. We're gonna look at Joseph's dream and the betrayal first. That's Genesis 37, 5 through 8. And I'm going to go read it from the Bible because I did paraphrase it over it, but I'm going to read it from the Bible. Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him all the more. So it sounded like they already hated him a little bit. Then when he went and told them the dream, they hated him a little bit more. He said to them, listen to the dream that I had. We were binding sheaves of grain out of the field when suddenly my sheaves rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it. His brother said to him, do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us? Then the next verse said, and they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he said. Now you're gonna hate this man because of a dream that he had. Wasn't his fault he dreamed. Wasn't his fault he had a dream. It ain't never when I go at night, go to bed, and I be like, God, this is the dream that I want, and that's the dream that I'm going to get. Not one time. Sometime I have a good dream, wake up and be like, God, can I fall back to sleep and continue that dream? Nope, you ain't going to continue in that one, but I give you another one. Because some dreams be really good. You be like, man, I was like, that dream was, let me just go back to that one. No, it ain't a continuation like a book. You only get a little bit of it. Sometimes God teases you with your dreams. So we've read in that one that you see that the brothers were jealous of him because of the dream that he had. They hated him for it. So then in Genesis 37, 23, and 24, they came up with a plan. Because they already knew about Joseph. They didn't like the fact that his dad had gave him the robe of different colors. They was already jealous of that. So it's almost everything that his father did for him, they were jealous of. But in my eyes, because of certain things that his father did for him, they were jealous of. But I don't think that the father was not doing stuff for them too. They just didn't like what he was getting. And sometimes in life we're like that. We look up and be like, why they get that? Why they get that? Why they get that? But are you ignoring the blessings that you have because you see somebody else's blessing? Your blessing's not going to be their blessing. It works in different ways. Believe me, your blessing that you got on your life serves a purpose just like the other person's blessing. But do you see the purpose of your blessing? Or are you ignoring the purpose of your blessing because you only concentrated on what their blessing was? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think cars and houses and money and all that is blessings. I think that's things that we receive as we go through life Some of us work hard for it. Some of us walk into it, and God will open up doors for you to be able to get to different places, but sometimes we look at the door and we won't even walk through it. I had a sermon before. I said, man, some people look at the door and jump out the window. But then we get upset because we're like, why didn't I get to it? Because you went the opposite way. Because you didn't want to listen to the way God said do it because you didn't like the pattern or the path. Genesis 37, 23 and 24. I'm going to read it from the Bible. I always got to. So when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped him of his robe that he was wearing, and they took him and threw him in a cistern. I'm going to rephrase that, a hole. The hole was empty, and there was no water in it. As they sat down to eat their meal, they looked up and saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming to Gilead. Their camels were loaded with spices and balm and myrrh, and they were on their way to take them down to Egypt. Now, let me go and explain this because I'm going into it. The reason that was so important because they already was like, okay, what are we going to do with him? We done stuck him in this hole. We can't just leave him in this hole because sooner or later, in my own words, somebody's going to see him in this hole. Or he may escape out of this hole. But this is the bad part. Judah said to his brother, what will we get? Because they was, now, I don't know why that doesn't say it right here, but I'm going to go into it. Judah said to his brother, what will it gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Israelite. I may be saying that wrong, Ishmaelites, and not lay our hands on him. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood. His brothers agreed. So there was still love, the fact that he was their brother, but they hated him for what he received. They hated him for what his dream was. They hated him for where he said he was going to be. So it was more of what came out of his mouth than what they seen about him. Because his dream hadn't came true yet. It was just what he said. So they hated him for what he said more than they hated him for what they seen. But he had a brother named Reuben. Reuben, I like Reuben. Reuben returned to the home. Reuben was the one that stood up for him and said, we shouldn't kill this dude. We have to figure something out. When Reuben returned to the hole and saw that Joseph was not there because they sold him to the Ishmaelites, the merchants came by. Sorry, I got to go back to 28. So when the Midianites, merchants came by, his brothers pulled Joseph up out of the hole and sold him for 20 shekels of silver to the Ishmaelites, who took him to Egypt. So they sold him for silver. They sold him for silver. So instead of killing him, they said, you know what, we'll just sell him. We'll make something off of him. Ain't no use of killing him. I mean, he's worth something. And when Reuben returned to the hole, he saw that Joseph was not there. He tore his clothes and went back to his brother and said, the boy isn't there. Where can I turn now? So Genesis 39, 2-3 says that the Lord was with Joseph so that he prospered and lived in the house of the Egyptians, the master. So I skipped ahead a little bit. What they did is they went back and told his dad, they tore his clothes, put blood on it, went back and told his dad that he was killed. Some animal came and killed him, slaughtered him. And that's what the truth was with his dad. So his dad never knew what really happened to Joseph. He just thought that he was killed out in the field, but they sold him. They got back with the robe, slaughtered a goat and dripped the robe in blood, and they took the robe back to their father and said, we found this. Lie. Examine it and see where it is your son's robe. He recognized it and said, it's my son's robe. Some furious animal has devoured him. Joseph has surely been torn to pieces. So they deceived the dad to tell him that Joseph has got eaten up by some wild animal. But we're going to bring you back his coat just to prove it. Now, all of this is just because, we got to keep going back. All of this is just because Joseph told a dream. But this is how God set you up. In Genesis 39, 2, 3, the Lord was with Joseph so that he prospered, and he lived in the house of the Egyptian master. When his master saw that the Lord was with him and that the Lord had given him success in everything he did, Joseph found a favor in God, in his eyes. So when they sold him into slavery, Joseph went to Egypt and sat under the king. And the only reason he found favor in his eyes, and hold on, y'all, because I got my notes is all over the place. Okay. He sold him to Egypt as a slave. And Joseph got there, Joseph was a slave. But he found favor in the king's eyes, so Joseph was able to serve with the king. But there's deception that comes with that too. And it's always, and the whole thing about Joseph's story, there was deception. So we're going to start with the brothers. The brothers deceived him because of his dream. They didn't like the fact that he said that he was going to rise over him. So Joseph runs into another problem. Now that he's with the king, he has a problem with a woman. It was Potiphar's wife. Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt. An Egyptian who was one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain and the guard, brought him to the Ishmaelites who had taken him. The Lord was with Joseph, so he prospered, and he lived in the house with the Egyptian master, which we went over. When his master saw that the Lord was with him and the Lord gave him success in everything, see, he's seen the fact that the Lord gave him. That's the thing. The brothers didn't see the potential and the blessing on Joseph's life. But as soon as he got sold to, as they're planning to sell him to slavery, soon as he got there, the king was like, I see God on you. I see him on you. Why the brothers couldn't see it? You grew up with this man this whole time. But he had to go to a whole different place with a whole different perception that y'all had for him for someone else to see what was on his life. And that's how sometimes it is with us. The people that surrounded you can't see who you really are. Other people see it. Before I started ministering, people was like, man, I can see God all over you. I'd be like, I just talk. That's what I do, you know. Some of the people that was close to me, all they kept bringing up was, this is what you used to do, this is what you used to do, this is who you used to be, that's who you used to be. But the people that I was running into that never knew me was like, yeah, it's all over you, man. It's all over you. So sometimes other people can see what God is on your life when you can't even see it. Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. Potiphar put him in charge of his household. You was just in a hole. Now you in this man's house in charge. And he don't even know you like that. He don't even know you like that. We said all the time, I don't know him like that. Man, can I borrow his car? I don't know him like that. The Egyptians, because Joseph, the blessing of the Lord was on everything Potiphar had, both his house and his field. Because of Joseph, the blessing of the Lord was on everything Potiphar had, both in his house and in the field. Because of Joseph. One person that God had a blessing on his life blessed this man's life. Watch who you affiliate with. I always say, judge the tree by its fruit. You don't put them around you, make sure you know exactly what they burn. So Potiphar left everything that he had in Joseph's care, with Joseph in charge. He did not concern himself with anything except for the food that he ate. Now this is where Joseph uses a lot of discernment in this. Now, Joseph was a well-built and handsome, and after a while, his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, come to bed with me. Now, men, I'm going to talk to y'all. Watch this verse. Joseph is walking around the house doing his thing. He ain't even looked at this woman one time. She seen him, he been looking good walking around here. Well, I must work out a little bit. Let me go ahead and holler at him. Now, wouldn't you think if Potiphar found out that Joseph was sleeping with his wife, they was cutting people's heads off at this time. She is putting this man in a bad place, a very bad place. But listen what he did. He refused, he refused with me in charge. He told her, my master does not concern himself with anything in his house. Everything that he owns, he entrusts to my care. No one is greater in this house than I am. My master has not withheld anything from me except for you. That is the devil. My master has withheld anything except you. You know that. You know that he's giving you everything and control over everything in the house except for his wife. Ain't no way you live there and you don't know that. You just didn't care. You wanted something and desired something that you was not supposed to have. But Joseph was smart enough. He knew he wasn't supposed to touch her. He knew he wasn't supposed to have her. And he turned away from her. It's like some of the desires that we have. Sometimes we got to be like, nope. I know I want to. I can't. Look at it as the punishment is death for the things that you desire so bad that you know you ain't supposed to do. Because in the Old Testament, that's what you got. People want to teach the New Testament, not teach the Old Testament, but you got to go back to the Old Testament and look at what the wrath of God was then, and now start making choices in life now. We skip that. Then she lied on him. When he turned her away, when she saw that he had left his cloak in her hand and ran out the house, she called to her household servants. Look, she said, this Hebrew has been brought to us to make sport of us. He came in here to sleep with me. But I screamed. When he heard me screaming for help, he left his cloak beside me and ran out the house. Wow. She kept his cloak beside her until the master came into the home. Then she told him this story. That Hebrew slave you brought to us came to me to make sport of me. But as soon as I screamed for help, he left his cloak beside me and ran out the house, setting him up because he turned her down. When his master heard the story, his wife told him, saying, this is how your slave treated me. He burned with anger. Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined. Another failure. He was just in a hole, now he got thrown in prison. He ain't do nothing wrong. That's how, and I'm going to go back to that. That's how we are. Why, God? I've been serving, I've been doing this, I've been doing that. I ain't did nothing wrong. Why am I in this hole? Why does this keep happening to me? I don't understand. But there was a purpose for this. And Joseph, one thing I noticed when I read it, I didn't hear one complaint. Not one of them. He didn't complain when he was thrown in the hole. He didn't complain when he threw him in jail. And he knew he hadn't did nothing wrong, but still didn't complain. I think because Joseph had higher thinking. He was like, if God is with me, then all this that I'm going through, there is a purpose for it. Sometime later, the cupbearer and the baker, this is after he is thrown in prison. Sometimes later, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt offended the master, the king of Egypt. Pharaoh was angry with the two officials, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, and put them into custody in the house of the captain of the guard, in the same prison where Joseph was confined. The captain and the guard assigned them to Joseph, and he attended them. After they had been taken into custody for some time, each of the two men, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were being held in prison, had a dream. So we already know that Joseph dreams. Now Joseph is finding out what his real gift is, that he interprets dreams. because he's going to interpret them dreams. So the God already had set it up. He was like, okay, when I get you to this prison, now I'm going to show you the other gift that I give you. And I'm going to show you what it's going to do for you. So it wasn't just for, as you see me go on, it wasn't, this whole thing is just not for Joseph. Because it's going to serve a purpose for some other people that went to, that got thrown in prison. Now, how do we know that the wife wasn't getting all these people thrown in prison? Because she showed up was working on Joseph. The same night, and each dream had a meaning of his own. When Joseph came to them the next morning, he saw that, he saw that they were dejected. So he asked Pharaoh's officials who were in custody with him in the master's house, why do you look so sad today? We both had dreams, they answered, but there is no one to interpret them. Then Joseph said to them, do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me your dreams. So the chief cupbearer tells his dream. He told Moses his dream. He said to him, in my dream I saw a vine in front of me, and on the vine were 3 branches. As soon as it budded, it blossomed, and its clusters ripened into grapes. Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes, squeezed them into Pharaoh's cup, and put the cup back in his hand. That was the first dream. This is what it means, Joseph said to him. The 3 branches are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you back into your position. And you will put Pharaoh's cup in his hand, just as you used to do when you were his cupbearer. But when all goes well with you, remember me and show me your kindness and mention me to Pharaoh. Get me out of this prison. So when I interpret your dream, and he already thinking in advance. He already knows that his dream, because he trusts God that much, that he already knows that what I just interpreted you is going to come true. I'm not doubting it at all. What I'm telling you right now is going to come true, because he wouldn't have never said, when you go back to Pharaoh, when you get back in your position, tell him what I told you. Tell him exactly what I said. But then you got the chief bearer. When the chief baker saw that Joseph had given a favorable interpretation, he said to Joseph, I had a dream too. Now, he might not want to tell Joseph his dream, but on the head were the baskets of bread, and the top basket were all kinds of baked goods for Pharaoh, but the birds were eating them out of the basket on my head. I wouldn't want to hear this answer. This is what it means, Joseph said. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift off your head and impale your body on a pole, and the birds will eat away your flesh. Think I'll just stay in prison? Now the 3rd day was Pharaoh's birthday, and he gave the feast to the officials. He lifted up the heads of the chief cupbearer and the chief baker in the presence of the officials. He restored the chief cupbearer to his position, as well as Joseph said he was going to do, so that once again he put the cup in Pharaoh's hand. But he impaled the chief bearer, just as Joseph said to him in his interpretation. The chief cupbearer, however, did not remember Joseph and forgot him. Now, do you think he did not remember Joseph? Man, somebody tell you a dream like that comes true, get back in position. You was about to die, basically, because if you're in prison, they cut your head off, like I keep saying. But you get put right back in your position. You forget somebody just told you that. I think when he got back to his position, because he didn't die, he just went on and lived his life. Sometimes we forget what God has done for us, said to us, put us in positions of, and we just live our lives. We never go back to the fact that God that did it, gave him thanks for doing it, give him glory for doing it. We just go on with our lives. It's so hard for God to get our attention. He can shake you, roll you, flip you off the bed. It's hard for him to get our attention. Every day he's knocking on your heart. Every day he's calling your name. Have you ever walked around and you heard your name and but nobody around? I know I've done it. It'd be like, John. I'd be like, Shauna. It's somebody in the crib because somebody just called my name. But I always think of that. I'm like, how do you hear that? Nobody's around and you hear your name called. Do you ever stop to think maybe that's God saying, I need your attention for a second? Because we might be missing something super important at that time. You ever been woke up at 2:30 in the morning? Don't feel like getting out the bed? Hear some God telling you? Try to reach over, wipe sleep out your eyes, grab your phone, put it in a note. God, I don't feel like getting up, man. This is too much. Shoot, God woke me up at 2:30 in the morning, told me get up and go in the loft and sit. And I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me, man. Like, I could see if you said you was just going to talk to me while I was laying there. No, you said get up and go in another room. I did it. But those are the hard times. And I think God purposely does that because he says, well, I will give you strength. When you think that you're in your weakest time, I will give you strength. I will pick you up. I will take you where I need. And he's trying to get something through to you. But are we willing to do what we need to do to be able to get it? If it's something that God is going to bless you with and it's going to change your life, why would you want to miss it? I think that's why some things are so slow, because we miss when he's talking to us. We miss when he's asking us to do an action. We miss when he's telling us to do something. Because sometimes it's either I'm too tired, I'm scared, I don't know how. I doubt God gives us any instruction with a how-to. But that depends on your faith. That depends on your discernment. That depends on how much you're listening. He don't put you in no position and just be like, you're on your own now. It's a how-to. So then, just because of that, God said, okay, you interpret their dreams. This dude ain't go up there and tell him what I needed you to tell him, so you'll get taken out of prison. So I'm just going to go to the source, the one that has all the control, the one that's making all the choices. I'm going to go to the source, and I'm going to give him a dream. I'm going to give him a dream that nobody can interpret, so that they will be able to remember who told them that and will give them your name. Listen how long it was. It was 2 years before Pharaoh had his dream. So Joseph's still sitting in this prison and did all the work. The cupbearer is up there. He's chilling for 2 years. And I'm like, dude, I could have been up out of here. Shoulda. Judge give you 6 months, but you do dang on 24. I mean, that ain't right. My paper says 6. Why am I still here? But then Pharaoh had a dream. He was standing by the Nile. When he went out to the river, there came up 7 crows, sleek and fat, and they grazed upon the reed. After them, 7 other crows, ugly and gaunt, came up out the Nile and stood beside those on the riverbank. And the crows were ugly and gaunt and ate up 7 sleeks, fat cows. Then Pharaoh woke up and said, I'm not just going to give you one. He fell asleep again and had a second dream. 7 heads of grain, healthy and good, were grown on a single stalk. After them, 7 other heads of grain sprouted, thin and scorched by the east wind. The thin heads of grain swallowed up by the 77 healthy, full heads. Then Pharaoh woke up. It had been a dream. When he woke up, his mind was troubled, so he sent for the magicians, the wise men, all the people that's supposed to know how to do this. Now, this goes over and over in the Bible. Everybody was going to all these magicians. Now, I'm going to say that wrong a couple of times, because like I keep telling you, I'm a real big country boy, so if you hear it come out wrong, I meant the other word. Just think of magic when you hear me say it. Pharaoh told them of the dreams, but they could not interpret them because they was not supposed to. This is something God is working like 3 different ways. He's like, I need Pharaoh to know who I am. I need that cupbearer to know who I am. I need everyone that you're, the magicians, magic, remember magic. Everyone that think they have the power to be able to do what I can do, I need them to know who I am. So I'm going to make this happen through Joseph. So because he knew Joseph was only going to say it came from God. He wasn't going to say it came from no other source but God. And he stood on Joseph. He knew Joseph was going to do that. That's the crazy thing about God. If you read through the Bible, he only used the people that he knew were going to mention his name. I'm going to let y'all say their names. There's 3 people in the Bible that was thrown into the fiery furnace. Only reason I ain't going to say their names because I'm going to mess them up. There y'all go. There y'all go. Especially the last one. We always jack his name up. But when God used them because he knew that they was never going to bow down to the king. They was going to stand up for God at any measure that they had to. And God was able to use them because once he threw them in the furnace, they said, who was the other dude in there with him? Who is that guy? Now we're going to turn this thing up 3 times hotter than what it was. We got to melt the skin. It's just no way that these dudes are walking around. And they were like this morning. They walking around and worshiping, praising in the fiery furnace. If that ain't a mighty God, if that ain't somebody that can move a position, is that somebody that could change a plan that somebody has for your life? People that's talking down on you, trying to demean your character, is that not a God that could change that? Forget what that person says about you. That employer, that friend that you thought was your friend, that person that keeps downing you. No, he ain't God. You gonna fail. You ain't gonna be this. No, I walk in God. You see that other one that's in here with me? That second person that you didn't see when I walked in? That's God. That's why I always say you got to speak up for them. That's why you got to say something. When people trying to cast you out and trying to talk down about, man, I got God with me. He walking with me, so what you trying to say? You can't do nothing with him? That's your battle buddy. God will help you jump somebody. You ain't in it by yourself. Then the chief cupbearer said to Pharaoh, today I am reminded of my shortcomings. Oh, I remember now. That's the same dude. 2 years you've been in prison. You ain't remember he was down there. I remember now. Give me my credit for it. I remember who he is. Pharaoh was once angry with his servant, and he had imprisoned me and the chief baker in the house of the captain of the guard. Each of us had a dream the same night, and each dream had a meaning of his own. Now the young Hebrew was with us, a servant of the captain of the guard. We told him our dreams, and he interpreted them for us, giving each man the interpretation of his dream. All things turned out exactly as he interpreted them to us. I was restored to my position, and the other man was impaled. So Pharaoh sent for Joseph. Now Joseph gets to come back to the house. Now, hopefully the wife ain't nowhere around. And he was quickly brought from the dungeon. When he when he had shaved and changed his clothes, he came before Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Joseph, I had a dream, and no one can interpret it, but I have heard it and said it to you. And when you hear the dream, can you interpret it? He says, I cannot do it, but God will give Pharaoh the answers he desires. Still says it. Took himself all the way out of it. He could have said, yeah, I got you. Man, I could tell you what it means. He said, I cannot do it, but God will give Pharaoh the answers he desires. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, in my dream, I was standing at the Nile, and this is the same. So I'm going to skip down because I went over that part before, exactly what he dreamed. And Joseph said to Pharaoh, the dreams of Pharaoh are one of the same. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good crows are 7 years, and the 7 gold heads of grain are 7 years. It is one and the same dream. The 7 lean, ugly cows that came up afterward are 7 years, and so are the 7 worthless heads of grain scorched by the east. They are the 7 years of famine. And the only reason I had to go over that is because this word leads into this. When they went into famine, this is why that Joseph was sent up there, and this is what changes the whole thing. Now you got to go back. Joseph's brother sold him into slavery. He ended up in Egypt, and he served under the king. He went to prison, got out of prison, told the king his dream. After he got back and restored to his position, but he's telling him that this is the 7 years you're going to go into famine. Well, when the the brother sold Joseph into slavery, they didn't know anything about famine coming. They had no idea there was going to be a famine. But he set them up. So now Joseph looked at the discerning and wise man and put him in the charge of the land of Egypt. Let the Pharaoh appoint the commissioners over the land and take a fifth of the harvest of Egypt during the 7 years of abundance. They should collect all the food of these good years that are coming and store up the grain under the authority of Pharaoh to keep it in the cities for food. The food should be held there and reserved for for the country to be used during the 7 years of famine that will come upon Egypt, so that the country may not be ruined by famine. So now he's in a place where he's over the food. He's going and getting the temps and putting it up and storing it up for famine. Well, Joseph and his brothers, we got to remember, they lived in a whole different part before they sent them over there. When the land went into famine, everybody went into famine, so they went without too. They had to go find it. They found out that the food was in Egypt. So they was like, hey, man, we need to go up there and get that food. Take his money up there, go up there and get that food from them people, not knowing that they was going to run into Joseph. They just thinking they going to Egypt to get some food. So they go up there and they like, okay. They don't know who Joseph is because you got to think, this has been years. Joseph done aged. He probably got a beard, mustache, and everything. Joseph got his swag on now. He ain't stripped in a hole. So they have to go to Joseph, and they say, here's the money. We need to take some food back to my father. Now, Joseph could have, now when he seen them, he knew who they were. Joseph could have acted really different. He could have said, I'm not giving you nothing. Way y'all treated me, y'all starved. But he always sent them back with food. But every time he sent them back with food, he played a trick. He put the money back in the bag. Send his men down there, track him down, man, and see what's going on. The first time he went back and the money was in the bag, they was like, oh, we didn't steal from him, we gave him the money. Second time they went up, he did the same thing. Third time, he was like, bring my brother, because he found out he had a brother. Now, I was doing deeper down this story. Joseph and, is it Benjamin? Might think it's Benjamin. Benjamin is the younger brother. He was like, bring him, because Joseph and Benjamin had the same father. So he was like, bring the youngest up, because he wanted to see him, because they would have been the only one. And then the story was told, the oldest brother was killed, which is Joseph. He goes back and tells the story, well, this is my only youngest son, because my oldest one was killed. Because this is a lie that they took back to him. Now, this is a crazy part. When you get into the full story, and I'm going to let you guys read it for yourself, but when you get into the full story of how Joseph's life went, when the brothers came up, they came up to get food from them. But when they came up the last time and he told them who he was, after he met with Benjamin, and he told him who he was, they were in fear because of his position now, because of where he stood. But he took them in and treated them like his own. He told them to go back and get my father. They brought them to the land and took care of them. Now, how many of us gonna do that? Man, that dude wrong, baby. I wish I would. Man, he give him some. I bet I don't give him nothing else. But he didn't, man. See, that's that heart of God that Joseph had in him. Who would have thought? His brothers never would have thought that you was going to be in a position under kinghood. Now you got to go and ask this man for something. Don't be ashamed of your position that God put you in. Don't step back from it because people don't like where you are. Don't demand. Don't make your position look lower because it makes everybody else feel uncomfortable. Don't change that. Some people pull themselves back and be like, nah, that ain't me. It is you. God put you in that position, accept it. If he's done stuff in your life to bring you up, don't bring it down because people don't like it. But you got to remember, hey, God is. You want to come up? Start mentioning, start serving, and start telling it. Don't be mad at your blessing. God just said to me, how many of y'all are mad at the blessing? I blessed you, now you're upset because people don't like it. I've had family members to walk away from me because God has blessed me. People close to me won't even come around, won't even talk to me, won't even come to my house. And I'm like, I ain't did nothing though. Like, what happened? And God says sometimes they just can't accept it. Makes me question where they are. But it's always, I've known a pattern with God. So understand this when I say this to you. Don't always look at your position now and think that's your position is always going to be. Because God takes you from where you are sitting right now and will raise you way over here. I've seen it. I know that God can do it. I know that he will do it. But we got to be acceptant to know that God will do these things for us. Sometimes we just like, man, this is where I'm going to be my whole life. You ever watch something, man, and people be living in New York and be in the hood, and they like, man, this is where I'm going to be at for the rest of my life. No thinking that this can change, this can be better, this can go to a whole different level. But you got to be willing to accept these levels. Because how you going to say, this is where I'm going to be and expect a blessing? You already named it. This is where you going to be at. You ain't asking God to adjust anything. This is my life. Like I said, Joseph never said one time, this is where I'm going to be. It's not one time stated in the Bible Joseph complained or said, this is where I'm going to be at. He allowed God to do what he was going to do in his life, but he allowed to do it with him claiming God at the same time. So when you are blessed, always let people know it's God. Don't take it for yourself. Don't say, man, I did that. I accomplished that. That promotion was me. I worked hard for it. Yeah, we know you did, but if God didn't open up the door, soften the dang on people's heart that's in front of you, you wouldn't get there because you're not the only person in that building working hard. But somebody else will tell you, yeah, that promotion was only because they were seeing how good you. Shut up. They ain't got nothing to do with it. My walk with God has everything to do with what happened with me. That's what you got to say. That's that people thinking perspective. Everybody thinks that the world only operates on the world. It don't just operate on the world. It was only created by God, so you taking God out of it and saying whatever the world does is the only reason that I can prosper. Being taught these things. Being taught these things. The only way things operate is how the world operates. We got this person, they got this person in place, we got this person there, and now the world's going to operate. No, it ain't. Things are not going to operate unless God allows it to operate. Yes, we know that things do go bad at times, but God is always, you can't look at the situation because it's bad and be like, oh, God just left. So you adapt back to the world. Bible says do not be conformed to this world. That's thinking too. It ain't just doing things of the world. That's thinking too. Being world-minded. Not able to think for yourself. It's so many people right now being led by internet and think all the same thing, react in the same way, answer things the same way. Why God want us to be different? You're going to be like-minded in God. Don't be like-minded with the world. Because if the world is controlling you, you are going to fail. It is not designed for you to win. Don't blame others for where you are. Look past your situation and try to make it better. Just because you can't see God working don't mean he ain't working. You just don't give up in the process. This was a whole process with Joseph. He didn't give up at all, and look where he landed. But like I named this the waiting list because Joseph wasn't the one on the waiting list. It was his father and his brothers that was on the waiting list. God put them in a position where he said, you're going to wait till I put Joseph where he's going to be, and then I'm going to come back and bless you. Because what did they do to receive the blessing? They sent their brother in a hole to die, sold him to slavery, and still got blessed because of Joseph's obedience. So how you know that you ain't the one that can have someone else blessed because of your obedience? How do you know your family can't come out of where they are because of your obedience? Come on. We say we praying for them, but are we being obedient? Because sometimes God's like, if you do it, I could change generations. If you do it, I could bring these kids up. If you do it, your son won't be like they son, and they won't turn out like. If you do it, these things could change. But if you don't do it, then I'm just going to move on to the next one because they may do it. Same thing in pastoring. God going to be like, if you don't stand up and do it, I'll just get somebody because he ain't going to stop. He ain't going to stop. We got enough foolishness going on in the world with this with ministry right now. Who's standing up talking the truth now? I won't name no names, but there's some crap going on in the churches. And people still sitting under there like, yep, that's right. No, it ain't right. You know that ain't right. Are you connected to the pastor or are you connected to God? Which one is it? Who are you following? Because the pastor go to hell and you following him, you going to hell right along with him. It's the truth. Bible says it. It ain't false teaching. If it ain't in the word, it's false teaching. Let's be real. Thrive is not a place to be fake. We're going to be real. We're going to tell the truth. I'm not going to hell for nobody. You can tell me all day, man, just say it like this. Nope, not saying it like that. Make it say it where I feel good. Nope, I ain't saying it like, hopefully you feel good about what I'm saying. But if you don't, it ain't my fault. It's not my fault. The word says it. I can't change it. But I mean, I was talking to my wife yesterday, and I said, man, I was watching some stuff, and I said, who is standing up and saying that ain't right? Who is stopping it before it becomes a virus? Not the congregation that's there. Walk out. If you're being taught wrong, walk out. You see it, walk out. Don't let it affect you. And you go home and take this crap to your kids. Now you raised up a whole nother generation of virus. If you halfway believe, your kids gonna halfway believe. If you halfway believe, everybody you associate yourself with gonna halfway believe. If you believe God when things are going good, but hate him when things are going bad, people gonna do the same thing. The ones that you're affected with. I just don't know, man. It's just like every time I try to do right, you just curse. God, like I ain't cursing you. But you just put that out there for everybody to hear it. Do I like all my situations? No, I don't. But I won't put my mouth on them. I won't put my mouth on them. I'm afraid to. Like I said last Sunday, I'm not doing that. John's like, I may have some issues, but I do like both my legs. I think God is just at a position where he's just tired, man, and he's just saying, man, like if you're not going to honor me and you're not going to stand up for me, then you choose your path. You choose where you want to be at. Because it ain't just one or two people that God is tapping on their heart. He's tapping on all of us. I feel that it's more powerful tapping going on right now than it's ever been in life. Because if you look at the world and you be like, dang, man, like everything is getting worse as well, not worse, because I not talk about finances and stuff like that. What I'm saying is actions of the world. The things that we see that's going on is getting worse. People are playing with God right now. They are lying on him. They're doing crazy stuff in church and even the people outside, man. I mean, how can you believe in God when you see the rapidness of infection going on? Who's winning this war? I feel like Satan is really, like, he probably got us 10-5 right now. I truly believe it. The church is, the body of Christ, the real followers, is small. And God said only a few gonna make it into heaven. I mean, he already knew it. Don't be lukewarm. Don't straddle the fence. All this, but we ride that pole all the way down to it done burnt our jeans off. But when we take the word and we take the word and we take it seriously, that's when you're going to start seeing things blossom and change in your life. You can't half do it and expect this to happen and God to do all these miraculous things in your life when you're half doing it. You get half a blessing. Can't go bake a half a cake and expect it to be a whole, and when you take it out, I mean, you're going to get half. And I think that when you half do it, because God is always going to protect us and be standing for us because he loves us, but the things of God that you're going to miss. The things of God that you're going to miss. I'm going to state it every time I stand up here. Do good unto others. Do it, man. He states that many times in the word to do good unto others. How many of us do that, though? Joseph's story is one of faith, perseverance, and divine favor, showing how God can turn even the darkest situations into something good. We are God's children. Truly believe that. I truly believe that, and I can't force you to believe it, but hopefully you will, that God has destined for you to have a great life. But I think it's in the perspective of what you think a great life is. Is it all things? Is it all material? Because I believe that you can't even receive the things of God if it's material, if you're not of God here first. Like, you have to line yourself up with him. I believe that he will bless you, but I think you have to line yourself up full-heartedly with him to be able to receive the blessings that God has for you. I don't think he wants you out here struggling and having a hard life, but he's like, me first, everything else second. And when you do get everything else second, me first on those things that you receive second. Stop praying over your finances if you're not going to work on them. It's a book in Proverbs, book of wisdom, book on finances, book on walking your life. Everything's in the Bible. But how you praying for something if you're not even going to attempt to work on it yourself? I can't change. If I wasn't going to, God wasn't just going to come in and say, your life has changed, but you ain't got to do nothing, John. You can still live the same old life, but I'm just going to change. No, I had to work. I had to put in my time, my discipline to change it. Did it do better for me? Of course it did. Of course I'm a better person today than I was 10, 15 years ago. But I put in the work. You want all the rest of it, find you the magic dude. The magic word. Find him. Let him work some wonders that ain't going to pan out for you. But if you trust God, put God before everything, before everything, 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 however you want to say it. When you wake up in the morning, God, go to sleep at night, God, before you eat, whatever you do. If you start practicing that, it will become a habit. And I'm just standing on the word that it'll benefit you in a way that you never thought that it would.